So welcome everyone to the Health and Authoring panel. We have a really diverse range of speakers for this particular panel. Starting with me, my name's James. I'm an author in the lit RPG and urban fantasy fields. I also have lupus. So, for me, being an author has been, a big part of that has been managing my health. How do you run a business that's often working you 60, 70 hours a week while also managing health conditions? But we actually have a really diverse range of people in regards to health on this panel. So how about we start from Mary and work our way down the table for introductions. Mike, so I will hand this.
Hi, I'm Mary Crawford. My primary disability is cerebral palsy. It's a birth defect. I was born this way. My more debilitating disability is that I am a chronic migraine sufferer. And that's what cost me my career as an attorney. So I became an author to basically occupy my brain because daytime TV just wasn't cutting it. So I write clean and wholesome romance, and I also write some nonfiction stuff. I have 2 books on dictation, and 1 on Scrivener, and another one on Scrivener on her way. So I use voice recognition software to assist me to write. Otherwise, there would be no books.
I'm John Hindmarsh. I've got leukemia. It was first detected 3 years ago. It went up to acute myeloid leukemia. I started treatment. It's down to what they call MDS, myelodysplasia syndrome. My risk level out of 4 levels is 2 to 3. I'm stable, and writing helps me tremendously. It gives me a focus, it gives me a life, and means that I feel I can live. I think that's about all I can say as an intro.
Hi, I'm Catherine Banks. Craig actually asked me to be on this panel after he saw my struggles. I had a RNY gastric bypass, and so after the surgery and losing the weight, still writing during all of that. And then also I have a borderline personality disorder, anxiety, depression, and PTSD. So suffering from all of that and writing at the same time. Yeah. So that's I write young adult and adult fantasy in several subgenres. I have about 47 books out in various subgenres.
My background's a little different. I spent 20 years in military intelligence and also working as a special agent for the federal government. Half of that was with the Food and Drug Administration and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. I've been in health, wellness, sports, athletics for almost 4 decades. I'm a little older than I look. But I also have had my spine fused. I've broke pretty much every bone in my both hands, dislocated my right ankle, impacted hip, 3 major throat surgeries, broken noses, you name it, concussions, been knocked out several times. So I am a health guy, but I suffer from things too.
So, based on the topic of the panel and sort of the kinds of discussions we could potentially have here, I'm going to assume that a lot of people in the audience either are suffering from some sort of health or mental health issue, or are concerned about that for their future. So they may not have anything going on now, but they may be here thinking about what can I do to sort of shore up my health as an author? What are the risks of being an author in terms of health? How do you manage things like being really sedentary, or working a job that requires you to sit at a keyboard for 8 to 12 hours a day effectively between writing and marketing and everything. So what I would like to ask the panel first off is, what are your strategies for balancing your health needs and your career? How do you juggle those 2 things? So everyone will start.
Okay, so this is a real challenge for those of us like me, and probably many of you who are type A personalities. We want to do everything all the time, always perfect. That's my MO. Unfortunately, my body is not on the same page. So there are days that I cannot write. And so what I have to do is forgive myself for what I cannot do. And I know that seems so simple, but when you're staring down a deadline and you have word counts to get and marketing to do, it's really hard to say, hey, you know, I really can't today. And then you have to let that go and say, tomorrow will be a better day, okay? Because if you obsess about all the things you didn't get done, it stops your forward progress. So you have to forgive yourself if you have a bad day and give yourself permission to take care of yourself and not your business. Because we have another job, in addition to being an author and a marketer and etc. Our job with chronic health conditions, whether it's cancer or mental health issues, our number one job is to stay healthy because we are our own tool. If we are not healthy, we cannot put out words. So you have to give yourself permission to take a break and stop, even if the tasks are coming at you a million miles an hour. You have to stop and take care of yourself.
Every 10 weeks I have a week of chemo, and I know that week I'm totally out of it. The following week, typically totally out of it, and it sort of leaks over into the second week. Once I'm out of that few mental sort of fog situation, I then start trying to redevelop my fitness. I hike, I walk, and I find that's the best thing for getting me fit. And if I'm fit, I can then write. If I'm not fit, then my writing goes down. So I focus on that exercise regime. And also by getting fit, it means that the next cycle of chemo, then I can cope with it better.
Yeah, so I will actually input on this because I have a sort of different chronic health issue, which is lupus, which is a health issue that repeatedly flares. And the flares of lupus can be quite dangerous. I don't know if any of you know what lupus is, but it's effectively an inflammatory condition sort of related to MS and rheumatoid arthritis. But instead of attacking your joints or just your joints, it can attack any part of your body. So it typically goes for organs, especially your liver and kidneys. So if I'm having a flare, I run my own business and, I'm doing fairly well as a lit RPG author. And especially when you're doing well in this career, there's a really huge pressure to keep going. Like you've got to, you hear the sort of, you have to publish a book every month. You have to, refine your keywords and do your ads and do this and do that. But if I'm having a flare, as Mary was saying, if my kidneys go down, I don't have a business. So, I think that self-care really is very important, and I build that self-care into my routines as an author. If I feel a flare coming on, if I see the skin patches start coming up, I'm like, I have to stop, and I have to basically tell my business partners, it's flare week. So, please hang on and I will get back to you as soon as I can. So that's one of my strategies, is actually setting those boundaries quite firmly around my health, because, if you can't function, if you're bedridden or if you're in hospital having dialysis, you're not going to be writing anything.
So for me, I work a full-time day job in addition to writing. So what I've started doing is my lunch and my 15-minute breaks is when I write. And then I write at home too, but I have to balance work and home life, obviously. So what I did was, I knew this month was going to be a crazy month with it being NaNoWriMo. And so last month, I only wrote an hour a day. So it wasn't the high word count I wanted to get, but I wrote every single day. I wrote for an hour a day. So I kept the story flowing, kept it going. And it really did help with, I wasn't stressed, I wasn't fatigued. And there's just some months that you really do need to give yourself a break, so you don't have to stop writing. There may be times you do, but you can just take it where you write 30 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. As long as you just get a few words down, then, I feel like I'm moving forward, and that really helps me not feel defeated. My writing is still going, but I'm also taking care of myself, and I don't get super stressed that way.
For me, my priority in my life is my health, and that's what I focus on every single day. It's what I teach. I'm a self-help author, so I write about, obviously, big portion, cornerstone of what I teach is health. I have a 3-legged stool I teach: optimal health, financial freedom by being debt-free, find your life purpose. That's what I teach. And people go, that sounds really, really simple. Boy, you're a genius. And I go, well, how many are you doing? And I instantly, the head goes down, they look at their shoes. But my primary cornerstone of everything I teach is you got to work on your health first, and then everything else becomes easier. And people go, well, you don't have these massive health conditions or maybe a genetic thing. I go, yeah, but I struggle every day. You know, I'm in pain. I've been in chronic pain for 25 years. You know, I've been part of the opiate epidemic. You know, trust me, I worked on the inside. I know how all this happened. So for me, another thing is I go, no matter how bad my day is going, no matter how bad I think it is, someone's got it much worse than me. I need to suck it up and do the best I can. Work within your limitations. Don't make excuses. Don't say, I can't. I can't is the beginnings of I won't. Do something simple. I teach people, I walk every single day. Every single day, me and my dog go for 2, 3, 4 miles. Every day. 25% of your bones are in your feet. Original automobiles, right there. Move. It's that simple. That's how I do it. And just stay positive. You know, it's hard some days. Look at it and just go, okay, what can I do today? Something is better than nothing.
Okay, and that sort of pretty naturally leads on to the connection between, say, you know, mental health and physical health. So, you know, some people can have mental health issues that are sort of standalone. They may, you know, be experiencing depression, or they may have anxiety, or they may have PTSD from traumatic events that have happened to them. So, you know, in terms of how do you, like, what would be your advice to other authors who are dealing with either standalone mental health issues or synergistic, like, physical health issues and mental health issues that kind of compound those physical challenges?
So, if you follow me at all on the 20 Books to 50K board, you know that I have had copious amounts of surgery, too much surgery, in the last 3 years. Most recently, I had my shoulder repaired in April, and I thought, well, you know, it's just my shoulder. It's not going to impact my stuff because, you know, I use the voice recognition software. I did not prepare myself at 53 for how much that surgery was going to wipe me out. Okay, so then I got depressed about what I wasn't able to do that I thought I should be able to do. So the two can go hand in hand. If you're struggling physically, it can bring on some situational depression and just feelings of I'm never going to succeed. I can't do this. This is going to undo everything that I've already done. Well, you built a career once. You can do it again, even if you have to take a long break.
To a certain extent, I think I'm in a privileged position. I've got a tremendous caregiver, and I have a positive attitude, and I keep that positivity. Yet, I don't have depression. I've got a weird sense of humor, and sometimes that goes a bit dark, and I have to manage that. But I'm always at risk. If my temperature goes over 100.4 degrees, I'm supposed to pack my PJs and head to the local ER. It's a challenging circumstance to live with. But as I said, I'm privileged. I have a positive attitude, and I hope I keep that.
So what I'm going to do is pass this down to you guys, and then I'll say something.
Okay. So for me, the mental health and the physical health, you know, they really do impact a lot. I'm lucky that my husband is very supportive, so he tends to notice when I'm having a really rough day, and he'll, you know, try and take on more things around the house than he already does. So, you know, when you have your deep days where you feel awful, you don't want to do anything, you feel like everything you do is wrong, my advice is always to just even, again, just write a few words. You can always go back and edit your words, but not putting them down, you're not getting anything done. You can't edit blank pages. So when you're having your really dark days, you can always reach out to people, or if you don't want to reach out to someone, because a lot of us, or at least me, I don't like reaching out to people. You can always, go back through and look at posts from previous days where you were having something positive happening, right? There's days where you were having a really, really good day, and that's not the only day that's going to happen. You're going to have a positive day again. So this is a dark moment, and you'll get through it, and that tends to help me at least.
We have a simple saying in the health world: unhealthy gut, unhealthy brain. They're tied together through the vagus nerve. And anything that's going on through your digestive tract will signal to your brain. And I've worked with thousands of clients at this point of my career. When the lights go on, it's amazing, because people don't believe you. If you want to be the best you possibly can be as a rider, be healthy. I've seen it firsthand. The mental cognition that will come back by changing your health. I wouldn't be here today if I didn't focus on my health every day. I've been a part of 9 books this year. I started a podcast. I've spoken all over the country at 6 events. I'm here. Did all that in 1 year. I attribute that to focusing on my health. So if it gives you any motivation, it would be to focus on your health, to be a better rider, but not only that, a better person. You're less cranky. You're less crabby. Now, are you going to have bad days? Absolutely. It doesn't fix everything, but it'll make things a lot better, a lot easier to cope.
So in addition to the lupus, I have had chronic depression since I was a child, from at least 7 years old, all the way through to the present day. And so, in building on that, the gut-brain link is a really powerful thing. I used to work in the dementia care field and the dementia research and advocacy field, and we have a lot of pretty solid research that links brain health and gut health. It helps with migraines, it helps with, staving off dementia. There's all kinds of, whatever you put into your stomach eventually affects your brain. So, that's a really practical place to start if you're, dealing with mental health issues or you want to just improve your general health. I'm not a professional mental health person, so I can't, officially recommend things. But if you do have mental health issues, and that's why you're attending today, there is a website called 20Books that offers free online counseling and support for people that can be useful if you're just trying to start on the process of, improving your mental health. And for me, the biggest thing that made it a huge difference for me mentally was cognitive behavioral therapy. If you can find a good CBT therapist, CBT is difficult because it is a kind of therapy you have to make effort for. You get homework, you get given assignments that you have to do, but the benefit of it over time, it's research-wise, it is the most effective form of therapy for depression, and particularly for authors who really have to work on those issues to have a successful business. It can be really useful. And there's also variations on that, like DBT. Is that something that you've heard about, Catherine?
Yeah, that's recommended for DBT.
Dialectical behavioral therapy is really useful for people who may have depression and also personality disorders or other issues with that. So, are any of the panelists parents? You're a parent? You're a parent? So, are there special health considerations for parents who are also going through health issues, would you say?
I get my chair in the right position for the mic. We have 2 children. One is 30 and the other turned 16 today. The thing that I notice that impacts my health the most, because he's pretty much on self-pilot. He goes to school and does his activities with school and doesn't interact much, except that on the weekends and in the evenings, he serves as my care provider, which is a whole other stress. for your family, for the care providers in your life. So you have to kind of balance that and make sure that they're not completely stressed out. But the way that it impacts me the most is when he goes back to school and is exposed to all the new germs and then brings them home, then I tend to get sick from that. So that's where, because my kids are older, that's how it impacts my life in terms of, balancing things with my author career.
For me, we try to be very honest with our children. My children, I have a 12-year-old and a 7-year-old. My 12-year-old, I have told her in detail and given her the info sheets and all that on all of the issues that I have, so that she understands that there are going to be times where I may seem like I'm mad at her, but I'm not mad at her. I'm dealing with issues, and I will let her know, if I snap at her, I'm just dealing with some of my issues right now. I'm not mad at you, so that she understands that it's not her, that I'm not just angry with her. And also my children know that there are certain times where mommy needs to write, so you need to go talk to dad. So, they'll come to me and they'll just ask, are you working? Yes, I'm working. And then they'll go find dad and ask him. So I feel like just being really honest with my children about my mental issues helps. And also it helped us find out that my daughter has ADHD, so that she was open with us about, and anxiety. She was very open with us about what she was suffering from, so that we could get that diagnosed early on, so that she didn't suffer through it blindly. So her seeing what we were going through helped her find that herself.
And this one's mostly a question for you, Gary. Like, if you have an author come to you and they're like, my blood pressure's high and I'm, having some scary heart stuff going on and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong because I go to the gym and I feel fit, but obviously I'm not because my blood pressure is, 180 over 90 or something. What would you give, first steps advice to people for improving their health and actually, getting on that treadmill, so to speak, either literally or metaphorically, for improving their health and improving their work?
For me, my philosophy is pretty straightforward. Just do it. We are really good at making excuses in this country, and we need to realize I've traveled all over the world. I've been to some really bad places. We're very fortunate. To get started, one of the basic things, if you're having high blood pressure, two-thirds of Americans are considered obese or overweight. Matter of fact, there's a statistic out right now that I give at my presentations that men and women are only a couple pounds in this country away from averaging obesity overall in America. We're the most obese country in the world by far. So my advice would be, it's hard, it's tough, it's going to be one of the most difficult things you've ever done. But the first thing we need to look at is consistent movement. Like I said, walk, and it's free. Doesn't cost anything, trust me. And also, we consume far too much sugar and processed foods. And it's hidden, and people go, that's it. I go, if you were to reduce your sugar load alone, it would make a drastic difference in your health. On average, you're supposed to consume 8 teaspoons of sugar a day to include what is in food. The average American consumes 43 teaspoons of sugar a day. If you were to consume all that in one heap, you could go into a sugar coma. That's how deadly it is. Sugar is toxic to the human body. It acts as a poison when we get it in high doses. So that's where I would start. Just consistently figure out how to move every day. And as a writer, we get locked in, right? We sit there and we write. Make sure you take a break, get up and walk. Get out, go somewhere, do something for 15 minutes, get some fresh air. Reinvigorate. And just watch your diet. Like I said, cutting out sugar. You can walk out of here right now today, this instant, and change your health. People, that's a misnomer. Changing your health doesn't cost money. It actually saves you money. Actually, I wrote a book about that. My new book. The average family of 4 in America will waste $500,000 eating out in their lifetime. $500,000. On average, it costs a third to cook healthy meals and be healthy. So don't fall into that trap. Being healthy is far cheaper short-term and long-term.
So I have a comment to add to that because I've been in your shoes where people have said, well, just get up and walk and exercise and you'll be fine. Excuse me. A couple of years ago, I had lung surgery for my asthma, and they put me on copious amounts of prednisone. I have now lost really close to 100 pounds. And I can't go to the gym. I have shoulder problems, I have hip problems, I have tons of problems. So I did mine entirely through diet. It took me 2.5 years to drop 100 pounds. If you think you can't get healthy because you can't exercise, I'm here to say you can. It just takes a lot more effort to do it when you can't exercise. So if you're sitting in the audience and you say, I have fibromyalgia or I have limitations to my physical being and I can't exercise and I can't walk and I can't do whatever. There are other ways to get healthy. It's just harder, but you can do it.
Yeah, I should have clarified that. I apologize, ma'am. Yeah. 80% of your health is based upon diet. Honestly, that is the elephant in the room, is diet. You can change your life drastically by just changing your diet. Living proof right there. So yeah, I wanted to clarify that.
Okay, so I think at this point, we may open it up to questions. If people, do we have a microphone for the?
We only have two, so
You have two?
they're there and there. So
Okay.
we need one of them.
All right. So people asking questions, maybe come up here. Oh, okay.
Hi, I have a mental health question. I think being an author can be a very lonely job. You're on your own most of the time. You don't work with people. You don't go to an office. You don't really socialise. Do any of you have any suggestions or any ideas how people could cope with that? Because I think that might impact. I know that impacts my mental health. I find ways to have to get out of the house. I have to. I'm a social person. But do you guys have any suggestions or?
I run a real life authors group at my local cafe. And if you don't have one in your area, you can start one. There are a lot of people that want that company, so that would be my personal advice. Does anyone else have anything to add?
For me, I found that on being open about my mental health issues online, I ended up finding other people who had this similar mental health issues. So finding people who have similar issues as you, being able to talk about it, even be able to joke about it, it helps. That's something that I found was helpful.
Can Mary go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
So most of the time, I'm bedbound, and I spend the vast majority of my life in a hospital bed. So the friends I make are pretty much online. So I look out for opportunities to join communities in which I have valuable feedback to give, and I make friends that way. Is it the same as having real life friends? No, but it's better than having no friends, right? So if you can't physically get out and join a community, or it's not safe for your immune system to do that, making online friends is a good way to keep up your social interaction muscles and make sure that they're strong. So I have been a NaNoWriMo leader where I had virtual write-ins instead of actually physically going, because November is a really bad time to be out and about and if you have a compromised immune system. So I look at opportunities to replicate real life interactions with online interactions.
Until the middle of this year, we lived in South Lake Tahoe, and we would drive to San Francisco every month, or almost every month, to attend a writing group. You've got to push yourself, I think, and that's what I tried, and it worked.
Well, I'm a little different. I lived in 50 acres off the grid in the middle of the woods, and I'm a writer. So I make sure A big difference for me is nature. I grew up in the woods. I grew up in a very rural place. It makes a huge, huge difference on your mental outlook. I can't emphasize this enough. I've dealt with PTSD after leaving the government. You get outside, you walk out in nature, and also get a pet. That is one of the things I can't recommend highly enough, especially a dog, because your dog, my dog lets me know right around 4 o'clock, it's time to go. And I know we gotta walk, we have to go. And it gets you in a routine. It helps you because that dog has a routine. And if you don't walk that dog gets agitated just like you do. I'm kid you not, my dog will throw a fit. If I don't take him out when he wants to go out, it's on. So that's why I recommend. Nature is an amazing, amazing way to deal with a lot of physical stress. I know it firsthand. And also they use it for veterans a lot as well.
And if you don't like dogs, I highly recommend Sphinx cats because you can take them for walks too. I put my little Sphinx cat in a baby bounce sort of backpack and she wears a little sweater and we go walking around the park together.
I hope this question is appropriate for this group. So right now I'm entering all this and my wife is doing it. I currently have a job and so health insurance is paid for through my employer. And so I get the benefits of having a group plan and the cost savings of that. And so it scares me to death to either think that to take a leap that would force me to pay regular health insurance without the group plan, or that I should lose my job and then she would have to quit what she was doing. So I don't know what people do for health insurance.
It will speak for the panel in the sense that we can't provide any insurance advice from, even if we know lots about insurance, just because of the legalities of it. But I can say that, like, I'm self-employed, entirely self-employed, and an immigrant, so I'm not even an actual US citizen yet. And we do have insurance through the ACA, through the Health Care Nexus thing, but that's only in our state, so it's really going to depend on your state. But there are options. So, you kind of have to research those yourself and potentially, bring in a professional who can legally advise you on like what insurance to get and where you can find it.
That's why I'm not full-time. I work full-time for a government job so that I can have the insurance. That's the only reason that I have not quit to become a full-time writer. So I fully understand.
So I do the opposite end of things. This chair that I'm sitting in is $60,000. And so, 20% of that is a big number. So I have to juggle my writing career with making enough money to be eligible for Medicaid benefits, but not too much because I might lose them. So that's a really interesting juggling act that many of you might also be doing. So, it's another drain on your mental resources to jump through all those hoops. But it keeps me healthy. It keeps me out of bed in terms of somebody can get me up to go to the bathroom and now I have to lay in bed in diapers. So that's really important to me to keep that insurance, because if I didn't have it, I wouldn't have a personal care attendant, which helps keep me healthy. So, you have to pick your battles and decide what's important to you. And, if you have health issues that may or may not be covered under individual insurance, you have to weigh those very, very carefully. And normally I'm an optimist, but when it comes to health issues, you need to assume the worst and hope for the best. So insure yourself against the worst and hope that you never go there.
The first year after I arrived in the US, I was uninsured for a full 12 months. It was a scary situation.
It's terrifying. Oh, no, you still please just
So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to the panel, because my God, it takes so much guts for you to stand up and say, I have this problem. It's not something that you just, share. So I just want to applaud you for your courage in standing up and running with the panel. The other thing is, and NaNoWriMo, hey, I'm a municipal liaison, And as such, I don't have any problems with my life right now, except for my kidney stones. But I have a lot of writers that do within the region. And so this is kind of a two-parter. How do I support them? How do I help them with things like introversion and not coming out to one of the public events? How do I encourage them to come out and be a bigger part of the community so that they get the benefits that being, interactive in the community? And the second part is, in about a year and a half, I'm going to be retired, and I've got a nice big piece of land that I'm looking at, and I'd love to build a writer retreat there. So I would love to solicit things on how I can help writers that are in situations where maybe they need to go on a retreat. So if you've got, that's a nice broad-based one.
So, in terms of encouraging other writers to participate in the community, I don't know if all of you are familiar with the concept of spoons, but someone introduced it a while back, where you have a limited number, quantifiable sort of amount of energy, and the energy that it takes for me to get up and take a shower is different than what it might take you to get up to take a shower. So we expend our spoons, and so we have to save them for special events like this. So the best thing you can do as an ML is to make sure that your events are friendly to a very big variety of disabilities. For example, in your write-ins, do you have a quiet area for people who for who interaction is tough? Is it in a wheelchair accessible place? Do you have a way to have a sign language interpreter for a deaf writer? So those kind of creating inclusive environment and letting people know that it is inclusive. Like, you don't have to be an extrovert to be part of our group. If you are, that's fine. If you're not, that's fine. And we've developed this, other space for you to write more comfortably. And like I did, introducing virtual write-ins for people who want the interaction of meeting friends and talking about writing and all that stuff without actually having to physically go to a location. So in terms of your writing retreat, you need to make sure it's accessible on many levels. Is it physically accessible for someone like me? Is the air clean for someone like John? Are there spaces for people to get away who might need some downtime? So there's a variety of needs that you need to look at for that.
Probably move on for that one. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so like Mary, I'm somebody that has chronic migraines and suffer from severe eye strain to the point where I will sometimes have to spend hours or even days not really getting out of bed because I can't do anything with my eyes other than maybe just walk around the house. I'm not sure where the line is between self-care and trying to keep, my issues from getting worse, because obviously with migraines, you don't want to make it worse. Where's the line? I feel like I'm just struggling with this and not being able to figure out if I'm just being lazy and using that, or if I really do need to take a rest.
Do either of you guys have any? Mary.
So in terms of dealing with migraines, it's really frustrating because one minute you can be fine and the next minute you can be down for 3 days. So that's really frustrating. So there are some things that I do to help mitigate the migraines. Like, I work in dark mode on my computer. That helps a great deal. If you don't have dark mode or you don't want to write in dark mode, there's an application called Flux, F-L-U-X, that makes your screen less bright and less hard on your eyes. And the other thing that I use a lot is sprints. I write in sprints. So I figure even if I'm having a bad day, I can do anything for 15 minutes at a time. So I might write for 15 minutes at a time and rest for 30. So, and then write another 15 minutes and rest for 30 if I'm having a really bad day. So, breaking your day down into chunks that are manageable, especially for you with your vision issues, so that you're not 100% staring at your computer. You might also want to try transcription using a recorder that you don't have to look at the screen, might also be helpful.
We keep complimenting you. So I actually get migraines as well, blinding migraines specifically. So I don't actually get the pain, but my vision will basically cut. And again, like what Gary was saying, for me, diet is like the biggest trigger for that. If I eat too much cheese, if I eat too much red wine, anything with lots of tyramine in it, if my gut is not happy, that's my first warning sign for me personally. So I pay a lot of attention to my gut when it comes to my head, because again, if you can't see, you can't write. So, in terms of like preemptively managing that, you can get the tools that help assist you when you're having the vision trouble, when you're having to work with, migraines or headaches. But, preemptively, it's monitoring your stomach. Like, are you starting to feel sick? Are you starting to have vision issues? You kind of have to sort of learn to recognize those early warning signs and then go, okay, I'm done for a bit. If I keep going, it's going to turn into a full-blown flare or a full-blown migraine. And that can, I think, help. And that probably goes for mental health as well. If you start feeling yourself heading towards a depressive episode, it's not worth pushing on through that condition and being like, oh, I'll just keep going until it's actually in full bloom. It's better to kind of stop when you sort of start feeling, oh, I'm starting to feel anxious, I'm starting to feel a migraine, I'm starting to feel a flare coming on. And then taking care of yourself, and then once you are back at baseline, then going forward. All right, so I think that's pretty much it. We can pretty much wrap up. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much for the panel. This is a fairly intimate subject for a lot of people. So, thank you for sharing and for being honest and going forward with that.